Okay, I think we're ready. We have everything figured out. We're just gonna swap back and forth here with Mrs. Burr and myself. Again, I apologize for starting 11 minutes late. We had everything planned out where we'd be in two separate locations, but right now we're going to have to be in one, and we'll just switch back and forth. So what we'll do today is Mrs. Burr has a little PowerPoint she will go through and clarify some things about CCP. After a couple slides, we'll take a little break and answer some questions or try and give some direction to some questions. So if you have anything that comes up, just please type it in the Q&A down there, and we'll get to it throughout the evening. And if we don't have time throughout the evening, then we'll definitely connect with you one-on-one. We have about an hour-long meeting here planned, so we'll get going, and I'll get out of the way and let Mrs. Burr step in.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about all of the confusion there. That was not how we intended to start this, but hopefully it'll be smooth sailing from here on out. So I'm going to share his screen here and bear with me. I'm now working on a computer that's not mine, so I've got to figure out how to do everything. I am going to share my screen and show the PowerPoint, and then I will walk you through it. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see this. So what is College Credit Plus? Basically, CCP is a program that allows students to get free college credits while in high school or even in 7th and 8th grade. So really good opportunity to get free college credits when you're not actually enrolled in college. It's a program that has a lot of pros, it has a lot of cons. So we're going to talk about all of those tonight because we want to make sure that if you decide to do this program, that you are very well informed. So where can you take the college classes at? Courses can be taken at any public or participating private college. You have a couple different options. You can either travel to the college where you've been admitted for CCP, or you can enroll in online courses. So we have several students who take all of their courses through the college and don't come to Clay High School at all. We have several students who have decided to do some courses at college and some through Oregon City schools. So they have got maybe a split schedule where they take 2 or 3 classes at the college level, 2 or 3 classes here in Oregon schools. And then we have some who do full Clay High School or Oregon City school schedules, and then just take maybe 1 additional class on their own time in the evening. So a lot of flexibility there. You can do it however it works best for your student. We also have some career tech programs that offer College Credit Plus credits. So our Ag 4, our Auto 1 and 2, Machining 1 and 2, and Marketing 1 and 2 all grant CCP credits while taking the class here on Clay's campus. So juniors and seniors would enroll in these career tech programs here at Clay. They would stay on our campus with our teachers doing the regular class. But if they're signed up for the CCP section of it, they're getting free college credit by doing the exact same thing that the other students in the class who maybe didn't sign up for the CCP section are doing. So there's no additional work. They don't have to leave our campus and go to the university, nothing like that. It is strictly free college credits by doing the exact same thing in those career tech programs that all of the other students in that class are doing. It is taught by our Clay High School instructor. They're the ones that issue the grade. Everything is the exact same. So who pays for all of this? College admission, textbook, fees, etc. Any student who is attending a public college, so the majority of our students do UT, BG, or Owens, they will not be charged for any tuition or books. Oregon City Schools will cover all of that. Students who attend a private college, and to be honest, we have not had this, but if they want to attend a private college for College Credit Plus, they may be charged based on that particular college in accordance with the law. So again, this is not something that we have had students do in the past, so I can't say that I have a lot of information about it. If your child wants to take classes at a private school and explore that option and see how much it would cost, I would be happy to sit down with them and look at that option and see what we would need to do and what that cost would be. Students who are earning their CCP credit through one of those career tech programs will also not be charged for tuition or books. Students may be charged fees such as a parking pass or ID badges. I have not heard of any students being charged recently. I don't think any of our students are, but there may be some kind of a small fee like that, but nothing tuition or book wise. Transportation would be completely on your own. So if you decide to go to the college, Oregon City Schools would not transport you there. That would be up to you to do. So there's two different financial arrangements, option A and option B. So we're going to look at both of those. I would imagine that all of you are going to be here for free option, but we have to cover option A. So basically what this option says is that students who elect to take this, they would pay for the tuition, the books, materials, and the fees. They would have all financial responsibility on them. The district would pay for nothing. These students under option A would take this college credit and it would not appear on their high school transcript. And you're going to get transcripted college credit and it's going to go on your high school transcript. So let's say, for instance, you take composition 1, which a lot of our students take at the college level. That would count as your English credit here at Clay. It would also count for college credit. So you're starting your transcript of the college and you're adding that class to your high school transcript. Under option A, that is not the case. It would only go on the college transcript. It would not go on the Clay High School transcript. Option B, which is what I'm assuming all of you would be here for, is where students elect to take the college courses, again, for both high school and college credit. All expenses would be paid by Oregon City Schools. So there would be no expense out of pocket for you unless there's one of those small fees like a parking pass or something along that line. Again, private post-secondary institutions may charge the students a fee per credit hour for courses taken. So that's something that we would have to sit down and look at. Under this option, note that though Oregon pays for everything, if a student were to fail a course or drop a course or add a course after the deadline without us knowing it, receive a withdrawal failure, an incomplete, and no credit, something along that line, the student would be responsible for paying Oregon City Schools back. They would basically have to reimburse us because what's going to happen is that whatever college they go to, say like Owens, is going to send Clay High School a bill saying, here are all the students that are from Clay High School that are attending Owens CCP classes, and here's how much you owe us. So what we're going to do, if that student, we paid that class on their behalf, and then we find out that they didn't pass the class for some reason and didn't receive any credit, we would then ask for reimbursement for what we paid on their behalf. So this option A and B is important. When you fill out the intent to participate form, which is going to be at the end, we'll talk about it. That's the form that's going to say that you do want to be a part of this program. You have to check either option A or option B on there. It is state law that we have to give both options and that you have to pick one. So just remember, option A is where you would be financially responsible for paying. Option B is where Oregon City Schools would pay. So as far as graduation requirements go, students can use college courses to count toward both high school and college credit. So like I said, if you take composition 1, it's going to count as your English credit. It's also going to count as college credit. It is the responsibility of the student and parents to be sure that the courses you're taking are going to meet graduation requirements. So, I would definitely encourage you to talk to your counselor in Oregon schools and say, okay, I'm signed up for this macroeconomics class. Does this substitute in for the econ credit that I need for graduation? Or whatever the situation may be, just make sure that we're approving it and that it is going to count for your core class. If you're taking a core class, if you're taking an elective, you can take what you choose. That's not going to matter. But if you're taking one of those math, English, science, social studies classes that you need for graduation, make sure that it counts. Upon acceptance by the college, students should schedule an appointment to meet with their advisor through CCP. So once they apply for this program, they get accepted, I would encourage them to schedule an appointment with their CCP advisor. Every college has advisors that work specifically with the CCP students. So they are trained to work with the younger students who are not a part of the actual college atmosphere to try to figure out what classes are going to best suit them. Then this college schedule should be given to your Oregon counselor as soon as possible so that we can adjust schedules. The sooner the better. So as soon as you know what you're taking and what periods and what times you're taking those college classes, get it to us so that we can make adjustments here as needed. So what courses are available through this program? Once you are admitted to a college through the CCP program, you have to start with what are called level 1 courses for the first 15 credit hours. So every college is going to have on their CCP page a list of all of their level 1 courses. It's basically all the prereq courses that a typical incoming freshman would take. Your basic comps and psychs and sociologies and college algebras and those kind of classes. all of those are going to be available. Once the students have completed those first 15 credit hours, they can move on to level 2 courses, which again are going to be listed on those websites with the colleges. I'm going to click on this link here regarding course eligibility. Hopefully I can get back to the PowerPoint after I click on this. This talks about level 1 courses and level 2 courses. So at the end of this, we're recording this presentation right now. We are going to have it on the Oregon City Schools website. And there's a link to this. There's a PowerPoint on that website as well, which I'll show you in a bit. There's a link to this page on there, so you can have access to it after this presentation. But basically, this just walks you through level 1 classes, level 2 courses, non-allowable courses. So we won't read all of this line by line, but the biggest thing to know is that non-allowable courses, you can't do study abroad courses. So our students can't, go to France and take classes. No physical education courses are allowed. They cannot do remedial courses. So that means basically if they're not ready to take a college course, they can't take a class to get them ready to take a college course. And then they can't do religious courses if it's a certain religion. So they can take like a world religion course, that's fine. They can't take a course on Catholicism or on one particular religion. Okay, so I'm going to test my knowledge here and see if I can get out of this and get back to the PowerPoint. I might, once I open this up, do you know, it looks like it's right here, I think, actually. Maybe. I don't know what you have open.
I think you just gotta go here.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay. So like we said, the courses count for both high school and college credits. The way that those count, if they take a 3, 4, or 5 credit hour class at the college, it counts for 1 high school credit. So Comp 1 is an example I use a lot because that's what the majority of our students take. It's going to count for 3 credit hours at the college, and then that's going to convert to 1 full English credit here on our transcripts. If they take a 2 credit hour course at the college, it's going to count for 2/3 of a high school credit. And if they take 1 semester at the college level, it's going to count for 1/3 of a high school credit. So with this, the majority of the classes that our students take are 3 credit hours. That's the biggest one. Occasionally they'll take a 1 or a 2 or a 4, but typically we see mostly 3 credit hour courses, which count for a full high school credit. If you are at the younger building, you don't actually have a transcript yet. You don't get that until you're in high school. So what we do is when you get to the high school, that will be added on to your transcript. So as far as those career tech programs I talked about that offer CCP credit, Automotive 1 are going to get 2 credits. Automotive 2 are going to get 3 credits. So they would end the entire auto program with 5 CCP credits. Ag 4 are going to get 4. Machining are going to get 5 each year. So they're going to be able to get 10 free college credits at the end of the program. And then marketing is going to get 3 junior year, 3 senior year. So they're going to end up with 6 credits total. These credits, just as a side note, are current as of today. Things are ever changing in the CCP world, so I can't guarantee that these are going to be the credits for next year, but that's where they stand right now. Okay, so Ohio graduation points. I had a whole slide in here about graduation and how CCP affects graduation. I decided to take it out because, frankly, graduation is very convoluted, confusing. I felt like I could have taken an entire hour to talk about how it relates to graduation, so I decided it wasn't worth it. And that's a conversation that we will have one-on-one with your student. If they are struggling to figure out which classes to take, we'll help them figure out what counts towards graduation. But just know that grades that are earned in CCP courses, if they take a CCP course in American history, government, or biology, they will substitute in for end of course exams. So when they get to Clay High School, they have to take OSTs, Ohio State Test, and these grades will substitute in according to the following chart. So if they get an A or a B, it would count in as 5 points. A C would count in as 4 OST points in that subject area. A D would count as 3 points. And then if they get anything below a D, it would not count. So credit limit. This is a big thing that is very confusing, but it's frankly one of the most important things that we cover tonight. Again, questions, see me about it, but it's really important that you at least understand the basics of what this looks like. The state of Ohio has said that there are credit limits for CCP. So to start with, you have to be enrolled in a minimum of 5 credits per school year in order to be considered a full-time student. So we have 3 semesters that are counted as a school year. There's summer, fall, and spring that count as 1 year. Throughout that entire time, you have to be in at least 5 credits, which can be any combination of Oregon City school classes and college classes. So if you take 2 3-credit-hour classes at UT, that's going to count as 2 full credits here. And then if, let's say, you would have to be enrolled in like 3 more Clay High School classes as an example. So any combination you want, it can be full-time CCP, but you have to be in at least 5 credits per year. You cannot earn more than 120 college credits throughout your entire time in the CCP program. So, starting from 7th grade through senior year, you cannot earn more than 120 college credits total. You also cannot earn more than 30 college credits in 1 academic year. So between summer, fall, and spring, you cannot earn more than 30 college credits. Like I said, the majority of classes are about 3 credit hours. So that would be, you can't take more than 10 college classes per school year. There's a little bit more that factors into it though. We also have to look at how many credits of Clay High School classes they're getting, or Facet classes, or Eisenhower classes. Well, it would be Facet by the time you are in 7th grade, you'd be just at Facet. So we need to look at how many credits you're taking in Oregon, and you multiply that by 3. So in the example I have here, this student's CHS classes are American History, Language Arts 10, and Biology. Those are each worth 1 credit. So this child has 3 Clay High School credits. You take that number and you multiply it by 3 to get 9. Why you multiply it by 3, I'm not sure. That's just the formula that the state came out with. You then subtract that 9 from 30, and that tells you how many college credit plus credits are available to that student for that school year. So because this child is taking 3 Clay High School classes, they can only take 21 CCP credits instead of the full 30 for that school year. This is confusing, and I understand that, and I'm happy to help you walk through this. It's really important that you're looking at this though. We have had students every year, including this year, who are either over or very close to being over. So we try our best to look it all over and catch it and make sure that we are tracking every student, but times hundreds of students, it can get very difficult. So it's really important that as a parent and as a student, you know what you're signing up for, and you know that you're not going over that credit limit. Note that if you're in a career tech program, those classes don't count into this formula. So that's even more confusing. So again, see me if you feel like you're anywhere close, just come see me. I will make sure that, I walk you through that, but just know that there is a limit and you really have to be careful with that. So students who enroll in that option B, the free program, are going to receive the letter grade issued by the college, not the percentage, on both their college and high school transcripts. And this is important because sometimes the percentage might be different at the college versus here. So maybe at the college, they got an 89%, maybe that counts as an A, here it would count as a B. We might be on different scales. So what we are going to issue is the letter grade that is issued by the college, not the percentage. The college grade is going to be computed in both the high school GPA it'll be computed in the high school GPA as if it was issued by our faculty. So as soon as we receive an official transcript from the college that your student attends for CCP, we are going to look at all those letter grades that they issued, and we're going to compute those into our Clay High School GPA as if our own faculty had given that grade. They're factored into the cumulative GPA on the highest grading scale that's offered in that subject area. So what this means is that we here at Clay have an AP English class. So if they go to the college level and take a CCP English class, that's going to be factored in on our AP grading scale. If they go to the college and take a foreign language class, that's going to be factored in on the honors grading scale because the highest that we go in foreign language at Clay is honors 4. If they go and take a music class, we are going to offer it at the general level because the highest that we go in music is a general scale. So whatever the highest is that we offer here, that's how we're going to grade those classes. CCP classes will not factor into quarter honor roll. So just note this, that it may affect your recognition in the newspaper and the 4-year honor roll. The reason for this is that we don't get quarter grades from the colleges. All that we get are the final semester grades. So we have no way of knowing what those quarter grades were. So we cannot issue quarter honor roll. when you don't get quarter honor roll, you might no longer be on that 4-year honor roll. So we just want to make sure that's clear, because we don't want you to sign your student up for CCP and then, be upset if you don't see their name in the newspaper for getting the honor roll. As far as athletic eligibility goes, if you are a student athlete, you have to remain eligible in accordance with the OHSAA bylaws. So basically what this means is that to be athletically eligible, you have to be passing 5 1-credit courses or the equivalent per grading period. So like I said, most of the CCP courses that are taken are 3, if not more, credits. So that actually allows for the student to have 1 full credit of that class here during the semester. So if they're taking college algebra in the fall, that's going to count for an entire credit of math that first semester for them. So really, it actually allows a lot of our students to earn more credits than what they need. So it's not too much of an issue, but definitely check with Mr. Octor. Just make sure that you are meeting all of your eligibility requirements if you are an athlete. And he works really well with the counselors. So he'll come down all the time and say, okay, let's look at the schedule together. I want to make sure that, they have what they need, they're eligible, and we work well together. So just make sure though that you know that you need to have 5 classes at any given point. Okay, so academic and social responsibilities. You will be expected to follow all the rules and regulations that are set forth by the college and in our handbook. So what that means is that you are expected to follow everything you're seeing in the Clay High School handbook, because you're still a Clay High School student, but you're also going to be on a college campus. So you also have to follow the rules and regulations that they set forth as far as, plagiarism and that kind of thing. Anything that they're setting forth, when you're on that campus, you're following their rules. When you're on our campus, you're following our rules. Speaking of being on a campus, you're not permitted to be on an Oregon City Schools campus during the time that you do not have an Oregon class. So if you have decided to do CCP for the whole second half of the day, you can't come to Clay for the first half and then stay here for the next 2 periods. We would need you to leave the campus, because we need to be accountable for where you are. So what's going to happen is on your schedule, anytime that you are not expected to be in the building, and we do account for transportation time and all that, we would put CCP as your class. So when any of us see that, we know that that means, okay, you're off doing your CCP, you're either traveling there or you're working at home doing an online class, or you're on campus. You are not supposed to be in the building at that time. Again, this is really just a safety measure. We don't want to have, a fire or something happens and we have no idea that you're in the building because it's not on a schedule. So just keep that in mind. It's also really important that you alert a counselor at Oregon schools immediately if you decide to drop, add, or withdraw from a CCP class once you have turned in your initial schedule. Unfortunately, communication can be rough sometimes between the high schools and colleges, just because there's so many high schools that the colleges are dealing with. Communication can sometimes take days. We may not know for a while that you dropped a class or added a class if you don't tell us. So that may, impact your athletic eligibility. It may impact your full-time student status. It may impact how many credits you have and whether you went over. Lots of things can be impacted. So we need to know right away if you make any schedule changes so that there's no issues and we're keeping on top of that and just making sure that everything is good. Just because you participate in the CCP program does not guarantee you admission to the college after high school. So if you get accepted to UT for CCP and then you decide to go there as a freshman, you still have to follow the regular undergraduate application process. You're not just automatically considered a student, because ultimately, even though you're a CCP student, you are a Clay High School or an Oregon City School student. You are not a UT student. You are not a BG student. You are not an Owen student. You are a Clay High School student. And you have to do all of the regular application procedures just like everybody else would. And then selective service. This is really important for all of my males who are close to turning 18. Under the Ohio Revised Code, a male student who is 18 is required to register with the selective service. So this is something that all students across the board, all males, when they turn 18 have to do. It is part of, if there were to ever be a draft, they would pull from this. If you do not register for selective service, my guys, by the time that they are 18, within 30 days of turning 18, if they don't register, what's going to happen is that the college is going to come to us and say, hey, so-and-so turned 18 32 days ago. They didn't register with selective service. That student is now financially responsible for tuition, textbook, fees, anything that is associated with that class. You become financially responsible for paying for all of that. So this happens, honestly, probably once a week for us. We get Owens calling us or UT calling us and saying, hey, you have a student, didn't register. So we need to try to track the kids down and make sure that they're registering. So please stay on top of this. As soon as your son turns 18, within 30 days, get them registered with Selective Service so that you do not become financially responsible for any of these classes. Okay, I think we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Mr. Jersky is going to look through some of the questions that were posted, and then we will continue.
Okay, if I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen here, I'll pull up some questions. We have 3 Q&As here. Yes, it is through 7th through 12th graders. The question is it available to anyone outside those grades? So it takes effect next year. So think about the 21-22 school year and what grade will your child be in? So CCP is available for 7th through 12th graders the year 21-22. Okay. Now Ms. Burr went quickly through those first couple screens and talked about what courses are available. Basically, and I'm going to just glance up here at Mrs. Burr, but if you are trying to decide and trying to advise your child as to what courses to take, I believe it's the entire college guide course offerings that are available for students. Am I correct, Mrs. Burr?
So they've actually changed that. It's no longer the entire guide. It is now just those level 1 courses. So on every college website, if you just type in CCP in the search bar, the first thing that's going to pop up is their CCP page. Click on it, and they will all have links to their level 1 courses. So it's tons and tons and tons of courses, several pages long. So tons of stuff they can take, but they have to get through 15 credit hours of those level 1s before they can move on to level 2 courses.
Okay, thank you for correcting me. She gave a few examples as well of some things that have come up. And trust me, the issue with the civil service has come up with us in the past. That is a real live example that happened with us, and they were trying to make the student pay for that course because he did not register. Athletic eligibility, that Mrs. Burr covered that. But that is very important. If your child, by the state of Ohio, the way the eligibility is that your child has to be enrolled in at least 5 credits for that grading period. So they can't have passed, or they have to pass 5 credits the preceding grading period as well. So let's use this example right here. They have enrolled in and taken 5 credits second quarter, and it's quarter grades in which eligibility is determined on, not semester grades. So it is all quarter grades. Your child passed 5 credits for second quarter. It is now third quarter. It's February 10th here, third quarter. And they decide, well, I'm only going to take 2 or 3 CCP courses and that is it. That would not be enough credits through OHSAA, through the Ohio High School Athletic Association, to be eligible. So your child has to be enrolled in a total of at least 5 credits. And again, that combination can be high school and college, things like that. It does not have to be strictly CCP. It does not have to be strictly Clay High School credits.
And keep in mind that CCP classes, if they're 3 credit hours, it's worth a full credit here at Clay. So if you took, say, the second semester, let's say you took 3 CCP classes, that's going to count for 3 full credits. So then you'd have to have 2 more. But sometimes our students get confused because if they take a semester class here at Clay, it's worth a half a credit. But if they take a semester class at the college, it's typically worth a full credit. So it's usually worth double what Clay High School classes are worth.
Correct. And again, just work with Mrs. Burr or the high school counselor here, and they can help you determine how many classes just to be eligible. And again, a real life scenario came up with that a few years ago as well. So a lot of our examples that Mrs. Burr will share with you today are real life examples that we've had to live through. We've had to go back and address these issues with students. Okay, one more question popped up. Okay, the question was about a student, do they really have to leave Clay High School if they take a CCP class and then have a study hall? What we have done, we've tried to work with the students as best we can, and Mrs. Burr says that you have to leave campus. What we don't want is a student saying, well, I'll take 2 or 3 classes here at Clay, and they go first, second, and third period. And then the rest of their day, they're taking 2 or 3 classes CCP. What we don't want, or what we cannot have, is them staying around, wandering the halls, going down to the weight room, working out in the weight room, or trying to work out in the weight room, just randomly popping into different teachers' classrooms, things like that. They have to be accounted for when they're here at Clay High School. So what we have done is we have at least got a little bit more flexible with classes here and when courses are offered here. And let's say it's a honors calculus course that's only offered 1 time a day, and say that's 6th period. We will allow them, possibly, depending on the other courses that they take, to say, okay, well, I'll take my first, second, and third period class, my language arts and whatever it may be, and then lunch 4th. And then I don't have a 5th period class, but I want to stay for 6th period honors calc. So we would put them in a study hall and allow them to work on their CCP class and complete that CCP. So I don't want to make a blanket statement that we don't do that. But again, working through their counselor here at the high school, we will see what other classes they've requested, what other classes and when they are offered here at Clay, and then make a determination as to, okay, this is the time you have to leave, you have to be accounted for, and things of that nature. So I don't want to say a flat no or a flat yes, because we have been pretty flexible in scheduling some different scenarios for students. Okay, quarter grades. They're asking about quarter grades and eligibility and things of that nature to determine eligibility. And Mrs. Burr said that they do not issue quarter grades. So at the end of the first quarter, we go by their grades that they have earned here at Clay. And then we assume that they are passing their CCP grades for eligibility purposes. And the way it is worded is that it's the last preceding grading period. So at the end of the semester is when these CCP grades will calculate in, because that is the only grade they receive for that class period. That will calculate into the eligibility for that next quarter. So good question. That was a little confusing when we said that they don't issue quarter grades. So that's good. Okay, I'm going to turn that back over to Mrs. Burr, and we'll continue here with our presentation.
All right. So now let me pull up this PowerPoint again. Wait, are you sharing your screen? I don't know where we're at now.
I did not. I closed out. I stopped sharing.
Okay. Have
You
him
share?
go ahead, and you have the PowerPoint still pulled up. Sorry, it's difficult when we're working on a computer that I'm not familiar with here.
I thought I did.
Okay. So let me go down to the next slide here. Okay, so what if I fail a class? So I would love to say this never happens. The reality is that unfortunately it happens quite often with our CCP students. And we're going to talk here in a couple minutes about all the reasons why this happens. But just know that classes that are failed.
You are not sharing your screen.
Oh, hold on. I thought I was sharing my screen. Hold on. Let me. Where is. Okay, sorry about that. Should be good now. Okay, so classes that are failed will receive an F on both the high school transcript and the college transcript. And it's going to be computed into both the high school and the college GPA. If a student withdraws from a CCP class after the 15th day, so they're allowed essentially 14 days in the class to see whether they want to stay in it or not. And they can withdraw in those first 14 days with no penalty. If they withdraw on the 15th day or after, the college is going to issue a W. So that will show up on both the college and the high school transcript, but it's not going to be computed into any GPAs. So it'll show up on the transcript. It'll show that they started a class, they withdrew from the class, but it's not going to affect any GPAs. Some colleges may assign something like an NC if you receive lower than a C for the class. So UT, as an example, does this for Comp 1. If a student receives a D or a C minus, instead of giving them that D or that C minus and that credit, they actually issue an NC no credit. So this is going to result in no credit on the college and high school transcript, but it does not factor into the GPA. So we have had parents come back and say, wait a second, my kid received a C minus. I want them to have this credit. That's not up to us. That is something that the college is issuing. And again, like I said earlier, whatever the college is putting on that transcript is something that we're going to put on the high school transcript. We follow what they issue. If you do not receive a passing grade, so whatever that may look like, whether it be a failure, whether it be a late withdrawal, an incomplete, an NC, Oregon Schools is going to seek reimbursement for the amount that we paid on your behalf. And we're going to ask for the textbook fund as well, or fee as well. So we pay for all your textbooks, we pay for the tuition. If you don't receive credit, we're going to ask you to reimburse us for what we paid on your behalf. We will withhold final transcripts and diplomas until that reimbursement has been made. So unfortunately, we have this situation every year where we have seniors that fail second semester classes right at the last minute, and we are scrambling to try to collect money and books fees, and it's not a fun process, but it happens every year. So just kind of be aware of that you would be financially responsible if you don't receive credit. This is really important. If you sign up for a CCP class, you have to attend the class, whether it be online or in person. And I know that sounds silly. Like, of course, I'm supposed to sign up and then go to it. You'd be surprised how many students don't, for a variety of reasons. So they signed up for a class and decided they didn't like it and just didn't go to it anymore. You can't do that. You need to drop the class. You need to follow the proper procedures so that you're not going to become financially responsible for paying for that, and you're not going to end up with an F on your transcript. We've also had situations where students have signed up for CCP and then withdrew from Clay High School and went to a different district. It is that student's responsibility to get with that college and say, hey, I no longer go to Oregon City Schools. I'm now at this other school district. You need to transfer the fees over to them. That is a student responsibility to do so. So if your student does not do well in their CCP classes, they can be placed on probation. So when a student's placed on probation, basically this happens when they've received a 2.0 cumulative GPA or lower in their college courses. I'm sorry, if they've earned lower than a 2.0. If they have a 2.0, they're okay. It has to be lower than that. Or if they withdraw from 2 or more courses in the same term. So they sign up for 3 CCP classes in the fall. They withdraw from 2 of them, not within that 14-day window. There's no penalty there. But if they withdraw from 2 of them after that 14-day window, where it's going to show as a W on their transcript, then they would end up on probation. Or if they get below a 2.0 GPA, they're going to get on probation. What probation means is that following semester, so let's say that spring semester, then they can only enroll in 1 college CCP course. They cannot enroll in a course that's in the same subject area where they receive that D or F. And they remain on probation until they have improved their cumulative GPA to a 2.0 or higher. So then we move into CCP dismissal. A student is placed on this if they've met the definition of CCP probation that we just talked about for 2 consecutive college terms. So they start out fall, get below a 2.0, they go on probation for spring, they take more classes, they're still below a 2.0, they're then going to be on dismissal for the following semester. So we would then meet with them, we would go through some paperwork, and then the student may not enroll in college courses the following college term. Again, there is a link here. I'm not going to click on the link right now. Again, we're going to have this PowerPoint posted on the Oregon City Schools website, so you can click on it and look at it more in depth if you'd like to, but the highlights are what I already covered. Okay, so these are some real Clay High School examples of why students have failed classes. I don't want this PowerPoint and this presentation to sound negative about CCP, okay? The reality is that a lot of our staff and admin are having their children do CCP. Frankly, when my children are old enough, they're probably going to do CCP too. So it's not a bad program, and I don't want it to sound like I'm bad-mouthing it or like I'm saying don't do it, because that's not the case. But we want to make sure that you really understand all of the potential cons that are related to it, because over and over and over again, we have students fail classes. I mean, several every semester. And these are some of our top AP and honors level students that are failing classes, and not the students we would expect to fail. So we want to just really make sure that you are prepared and you know what you're going into. So we asked last year or 2 years ago, we asked some of our students, all right, you failed the CCP course, come in here, talk to me, explain to me why you failed, what happened. So here were some examples. There was a language barrier with my professor. English was a second language. I struggled to understand him. His notes were written half in English and half in another language. Yes, I can see where that would be complicated. So unfortunately, we have that situation a lot where the college professors have English as a second language, and it's a struggle sometimes. There was little to no communication with my professor, even though I reached out several times. It's not like high school, right? So they can't just go up to their teacher during stride or after school or before school and get, extra help or talk one-on-one. They may have to go during office hours only, and that's when they have a class maybe here at Clay High School, or they're not available during that office hour time. So sometimes communication can be very few and far between with the college professors. I had a student who said, I turned in an essay which received an F because I was told that I wrote on the wrong topic. I had no chance to redo the essay. So I think a lot of times here at the high school, you guys might experience a little bit of flexibility with the teachers. They're willing to, work with our students. The reality is that a lot of times in college, they're not. So if you screw up, you screw up. And they're not going to give you that chance to redo it. Another student said I was having difficulty navigating the online Blackboard system. I didn't realize I had assignments due until they already passed the deadline, and there was nothing they could do at that point. So they were having technical difficulties, couldn't figure out how to get on. It's kind of like each college has a system, kind of like Clay has Schoology. They couldn't figure out how to navigate it, and it was too late by the time they figured it out. I had a student who turned in a major assignment. The professor said they had no record of them ever turning it in, didn't give them a chance to redo it. Another student said, I was too overwhelmed. I was balancing Clay High School classes, extracurriculars, college classes. I just couldn't keep up with everything. And frankly, my online CCP course was the easiest thing to procrastinate on. As you guys know, we're living in an online world right now. So online classes are tough. It's hard to stay motivated when you don't have that person, breathing down your neck and you're seeing them every day. So a lot of our students, when they're taking online CCP classes, it's easy just to kind of push it aside and focus on the things that are in front of them instead. And then another one, I took a college class too early into high school. I was a freshman. I wasn't ready for the commitment. It was just too much for me. So just some real world examples from our students of why they failed. So I have some stats on here. They're kind of old. The reason for that is that I didn't want to include this year or last year because with COVID, I felt like the numbers were so skewed that it wouldn't really give a clear picture. So this is from the 18-19 school year. We had 9 students, which at that time was approximately 17% of our CCP students, who received an F, an NC, or a W. There were 11 classes that were withdrawn or failed. Clay High School students had to reimburse us a total of over $3,000 for those failed classes and withdrawals and books. I will tell you that number significantly increased last year and then the first semester of this year. And I don't know if that's because of COVID, so that's why I didn't feel like it was fair to show, but as you can see, that year we had 9 students who failed. During the first semester of last school year, the 1920 school year, so before COVID hit, first semester, we had 7 students who received an F, NC, or W. 17 classes were either withdrawn or failed. And by withdrawn, again, I mean after that 14-day deadline. CHS students had to reimburse us almost $7,000 for failed classes in one semester. So you can see the year before that, the entire year was $3,000. This was one semester and it was $7,000. We had 3 students who owed us over $1,000, 1 student who owed us over $2,000 for failed classes. So I just want to put these numbers into perspective because I don't want you to get into a situation where all of a sudden your student isn't doing well and you now have to pay thousands of dollars, especially the $2,000 one, if I remember right, was a senior. So had to pay it before graduation. That's a lot to pay in a very quick amount of time. So I just want to touch on books really quickly. When you are at the college, you're likely going to have to take a book for your class. There's bookstores that you will go through to get this on the college campuses. If you rent the book, you have to return it to the bookstore. It's on loan from them. You have to take it back to them. If you purchase the book, which you won't purchase the book, but we would. So basically, when you go to the bookstore, they're going to give you two options. They're going to try to have you rent the book first because that's the cheapest option. But a lot of times they don't have any rentals available. So you have to basically purchase the book. You tell them you're a CCP student, that bill comes to Clay High School, it doesn't go to you. In that situation, you have to return that purchase book to me because it's the property of Oregon Schools since we paid for it. So rented books go to the bookstore, purchase books come back to Clay High School. If they are not returned by the deadline, and that deadline varies every year, but usually it's a week or two after the semester's over, I will send out an email to all of my students letting them know that they owe a book. If it's not returned by the deadline given, you will be charged for the cost of that book. And sometimes it's even a little bit higher because the college will include like a restock fee on it. So sometimes that book title or book total can get kind of high. We have books that are, a couple $100s. So really important that you return your book either to the bookstore or to Clay High School at the end of each semester. So do my college credits transfer after graduation? Yes, most of them should. Ohio has something called an Ohio Transfer to Degree Guarantee. And this is something where if you earn credits at an Ohio public college, they're guaranteed to transfer to other Ohio public colleges. Now, if you earn your credits at a private college, it may be a little bit different. They may not transfer over. That's going to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. There are two websites on here. And again, I'm going to show you where to access this PowerPoint so you can look at it. There's two different websites you can go to where you can learn more about credit transfers. And you can actually go into these websites, type in the college you're going to go to, the class you want to take, and then you can type in the college that you want to transfer it to at some point, and you'll see if it transfers. So let's say, for instance, right now, as a CCP student, you're taking classes at Owens, but you know that after you are done with high school, you want to go down to Ohio University. You can see if those classes that you're taking are going to transfer down there. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about pros and cons. The pros are that it counts for both high school and college credit. You're getting free college credit during the high school day. And it's a great opportunity. And it's double dipping. So you're getting your English credit or your math credit, and you're getting college credit at the same time by taking one class. Obviously, this means that you can complete college in fewer terms, right? You're getting tons of free credits here at Oregon Schools. We're paying for it. Now, when you go in, you may be starting as a sophomore or a second semester freshman. You may cut an entire semester, entire year, 2 years off of your college experience because you have so many CCP credits done. That's obviously, to me, the biggest benefit. Huge financial benefits, right? We know college is expensive. So if you can cut an entire semester or an entire year off of your college, you're saving significant amount of money by doing this program. It also gives you the opportunity to take courses that may not be available at the high school. So lots of different opportunities. When you go look at those level 1 courses, there's pages and pages of courses you can take. So it may end up where, we have seniors sometimes who are like, okay, I've done 7 classes every year. It's my senior year. All I need is English and math. I'm going to go take the rest through CCP. They have more options. Yeah, they're a university. They're going to have more options than the high school has. So that's definitely a pro. You can also experience more diversity. This can also be a con though. So depending on how ready your student is, they're going to be surrounded by students of different backgrounds, different ages, different beliefs. So it can definitely open up their minds, open up their, attitudes toward other people. It can be a really good thing. It can also be a con if your student's not ready for it. So just making sure that they are ready for what they're going to see on a college campus. And then there's the ability to take online courses, which means more flexibility. Obviously, we have online courses now with COVID. Everything's changed a little bit here. But there are a lot of flexibility, in your options of what you can take and what method you want to take those classes. So from the 2019-20 school year, we had students that are through our, the CCP program offered 416 college credits to our students. So they took 416 credits. That is approximately $106,000 in savings by our Oregon kids. That does not even include our career tech CCP. And frankly, we have just as many students in career tech CCP as we have in traditional. So if we factored all of them in, that number would probably double. I would say it would be well over $200,000 that our students saved by doing CCP classes. So huge benefit, tons of money can be saved. There's also a lot of supports that are available to the students. So there may be things like computer labs on campus that they can use. There might be career development services, advising services, tutoring services. They have use of the libraries, the math labs, the writing labs. They have success coaches that are assigned to them. So they have a lot of supports in place for our CCP students and just college students in general. So lots of opportunities for them. They could also potentially use rec services, the recs, the sporting events. Typically, they will get passes to go to all the sporting events for free. So lots of pros there. Just know that high school students are not eligible to participate in student clubs. So even though you are going to CCP, again, you are a Clay High School or an Oregon City School student, you are not the college student. So you cannot participate in a club. You can't join a fraternity or sorority or anything like that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the cons. Students who attend classes on the college campus are often removed from the high school environment. It can be very difficult when you're only here for half a day or not here at all to know what's going on because you're missing announcements, you're missing class meetings, you're missing all of the stuff, the fun stuff, the pep rallies, all that kind of stuff that goes on. Students who take on-campus classes have to provide their own transportation. So be prepared for your student to be driving, especially on days like if Clay High School has a 2-hour delay and we cancel. The colleges don't go on 2-hour delays. The colleges don't cancel unless it's really severe. So just know that your student's going to be driving possibly on icy, snowy roads, expected to go to class. Even though we're not in session, they will still be in session. Students must abide by the college yearly calendar, which may be different than the Oregon City Schools calendar. Their spring breaks are typically entirely different than what our spring breaks are. They start at a different day. They end at a different day. So you may have your student at home for several weeks before we start because college hasn't started yet, or they may get out several weeks before we do, or their breaks are different. So if you're trying to plan a family vacation and you realize that your college student is on a totally different schedule than the rest of your Oregon City School students, that may be an issue. There also may be reduced opportunities for students to participate in extracurricular activities. If we have a student who is doing classes in the morning, they may not be available for before school club meetings. If they're doing afternoon classes, they may struggle to get back here for their athletics or whatever is going on after school. So just, it makes it difficult sometimes to coordinate everything. Also, I can pretty much guarantee that students are going to have to make scheduled sacrifices when they do CCP. So we have students all the time who want AP Calc and they want humanities and they want certain classes. Well, they're only offered one period a day and you signed up for CCP classes, which are offered the same time of the day. We can't make it work. So there's going to have to be hard choices made regarding the schedule and what is really important. There also could be increased student responsibility for learning because they're not having that teacher who is checking in on them every day and calling the parent. As a college student, the professors and the success coaches will not talk to the parents. They will only talk to the students. Even if your student is in the 7th grade and is taking CCP classes, they are going to be, the professors and the success coaches are going to keep everything confidential. They are not going to talk to you as a parent. Now the student can go in and give permission for them to talk to you, but just keep this in mind that they're not going to call you and give you updates. You can't call the professor and ask for updates. That's not how college works. Students may also be exposed to coursework that is geared toward adult learners. So they may be exposed to mature topics that they're not ready for. An example that Owens always gives is that there is an art class and they have to draw a nude model. So things like that, you just need to be prepared that your young student may not be prepared for the kind of class that they're signing up for. Also, student loans and scholarship eligibility could be limited depending on how many CCP classes you take. It can have an effect on your student loan eligibility. That is something that I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about. The colleges would be able to walk you through that. If you take, just a handful of classes, it's not going to matter. But if you start to get to that point where you're taking many, many credits of CCP throughout many years, this could affect your loan eligibility. So just keep that in mind. Also, the Oregon City Schools counselors and administrators are not always given access to CCP grades. Typically, we're not giving them at all. So we will get a final grade on the transcript, and that is the first time that we have seen what that student's grade is. So we are not able to track it. They will not release that information to us. We have no idea if the student is in danger of failing or not. So there's no way for us to intervene until we actually have that grade in front of us. And again, like we said before, we will seek restitution for any classes that are failed. So that's a con as well, that if your student doesn't do well, we are going to ask for reimbursement.
Okay, I'm back. Hello. While Mrs. Burr takes a little break, I just want to clarify a few things. You know your child better than we do. And the one bit of advice I'm going to give is please make sure if you sign your child up for CCP and you get them into a CCP class that they will be able to handle it. Mrs. Burr said it great here that we don't have access to their grades. We can't walk down the hallway and talk to a teacher like we would be able to here at Clay High School if they were struggling in a class and say, hey, what's going on? What can we do to help this particular student? We've literally had a parent that was trying to contact a professor, and the professor told the parent, don't contact me anymore. I didn't want to hear from you. So there are situations that come up in a college setting that basically our hands are tied and we can only do so much. Just think about it. They are taking college courses. Are they prepared? Is your child prepared to take a college level course and all the demands that are required of a college student? Obviously, from the past year, we've been online. We've had our teachers leading the instruction. We've had the teachers Zooming and things like that. So a common mistake that kids are doing now or having right now is that an online college course will be similar to the online high school course. And that probably is not going to be the case. I don't know how many college professors will Zoom with their students. They may post the work and say it's due and open up Blackboard and have them comment, and they have to reply to kids or other posts and things like that. But I don't know how much help they're going to get in being successful in passing the class. So again, I just caution you when you are considering, do I sign my child up for this? Just think of that. Is your child truly capable and ready to handle a CCP class and to do their work on their own without any help from mom, dad, a counselor here, and things like that? Okay, so I'm going to start looking at the Q&A a little bit here. Question was, okay, if I have a child that is not in high school, how does that work for FACET if they are a seventh or eighth grader? So I am going to answer this the best I can, and I'm looking over here at Mrs. Burr, and she's going to be shaking her head yes or no whether I'm telling it correctly. But it would be the same process that you would use here at the high school. So you would look at the college, whatever college you're going to, the course offering book, and see what courses they are available to take at the CCP level, whether language arts, math, science, whatever it may be, and pick out that course and then communicate with Mr. Maltich over at FACET and let them know what class, or let him know what classes you are interested in taking. But once again, the transportation is up to the parent. If it was a meeting course where they met on campus, it would be up to the parent to get them there. If it was a virtual one, then obviously the student would be able to work on that whenever could be. Am I correct, Mrs. Bird? Okay, I am correct. Question, is Lourdes a participating college in this?
So Lourdes is a private college. So they are ones that, yes, they do offer CCP. However, there may be a fee associated with them because they are not a public college. And that's something, if you're interested in that, just, get with your student's counselor. We can talk to Lourdes and figure out what that fee would be.
Okay. And the question Mrs. Burr stated at the beginning, and I'll keep reiterating this. Yes, the PowerPoint is going to be posted online. You will have access to that. Digest what we're saying today. Look at the PowerPoint when Mrs. Burr shows you where to locate the PowerPoint. Look at the PowerPoint. And I would say take a day or two to digest what we're saying. Think about, organize your thoughts. And then at the end of the PowerPoint here, or end of the meeting tonight, she'll tell you who to contact or when to contact. But my suggestion is please wait until next week and just think over the weekend, come up with any questions you have, and then make those calls next week or emails. And that'll give you time to think of all your questions, and maybe some will pop up this weekend. Mrs. Burr will talk about the letter of intent. There's a question on here about letter of intent and what does that mean and what are the next steps after the letter of intent.
That's coming up next.
So she will get into that. Okay, here's a question, Mrs. Burr. The 14-day withdrawal with no penalty, is that just for fees or is that for grades as well?
If you withdraw within the first 14 days, it gets entirely wiped away. So nothing shows up on a transcript, nothing gets computed into GPA, no fees are assigned. It's basically like the student never signed up for the class.
Okay. There are some questions here, and as I'm scrolling down, specifically about asking about enrollment in certain classes, as to how many credits they're earning here, how many credits they're earning CCP, and specifically for eligibility purposes. Again, they have to be by OHSAA. I'm going to answer this in general terms, and I'm probably not going to answer the specific questions that I see. And I'm going to refer you to call Mrs. Burr, email Mrs. Burr specifically your questions, because I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm saying. But by OHSAA's rules, in order to participate, let's say in basketball right now, they have to be enrolled in a total of 5 credits. And they had to have passed 5 credits the preceding grading period. So it's that 5 credit rule. With the specific, there's a couple questions on specifically enrolled in certain classes. Again, I'm going to direct you to Mrs. Burr so you can get that directly from her. And I'm not going to talk in specifics tonight, but please contact Mrs. Burr and she'll be glad to help you. Okay, good question here. It says, if my student takes CCP class one semester, they're required to take a class the following semester. Okay, here's one thing about the high school. We grant credit at the end of the semester. So you may be in a full year-long Algebra 1 class here at the high school. We actually grant a half a credit at the end of the first semester and a half a credit at the end of the second semester. Okay, so we have basically full year-long courses in all our cores and other classes as well. College now, if you say, I want to take, say your child decides that first semester they're going to take Comp 1 next year, and they're going to enroll in Comp 1. And then at the end of the first semester, they say, you know what? CCP wasn't for me. I didn't like it. Are they required to take a second semester CCP? No. We will make every effort we can to get them in a course here at Clay. But we want to hold true to whatever their schedule. We don't want to mix up their schedule too much and start bouncing them around to different teachers and things like that. So we will work with their current schedule and try and get them in a class second semester. But I guess to answer your question directly, you do not have to enroll for an entire year. If you decide, hey, you know what, this really wasn't for me. But keep in mind, again, the deadlines that Mrs. Burr went over, and when you get the PowerPoint, make sure you review those deadlines in that PowerPoint so you are not charged for any courses. All right, next question. Okay, so basically, here's the question. This seems more geared towards high school students than junior high students, even though the state of Ohio says it is for grades 7 through 12. I'm just going to refer that again. You have to make sure your child is prepared to take a college level course. So it is open to 7th graders. Not all 7th graders are capable of passing a college level course. And remember, as soon as they take that college level course, they are starting their college transcript that will follow them. So just make sure you know and you are prepared that your child can take that course. And Mrs. Burr is just dying to say something here. So go ahead, Mrs. Burr.
I was just going to say that, I'm a Clay High School counselor. So I am at the high school. That's what I'm surrounded with all day. So I catch myself a lot when I'm doing this presentation saying Clay High School. And everything I'm saying is applicable to all Oregon City 7 through 12. It's just that I tend to default to Clay High School since that's what I know. Everything that I've said is the same for 7th grade. So the application procedures that we're going to go through here in a minute is the same for 7th and 8th graders. They would meet with their counselor at Facet. So they would meet with Mr. Malatich, just like they would meet with the Clay High School counselors. Everything's the same. So if you hear me saying Clay, I really mean Oregon City Schools. So I apologize for that.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So here's a good question. Scheduling is being done tomorrow. So how do I know if I'm going to take CCP or not, or my child is going to get into CCP? How do we know what to request? Now I'm going to talk for Mrs. Burr, but I think I'm going to be correct here. So say your child is meeting with our counselors or with Mr. Malatich tomorrow and says, you know what, I'm really thinking about CCP, but is unsure what class yet. Have them sign up for their courses that they would take here at Clay. And their counselor will put their courses on their request. Then if you go through the process and you determine, hey, CCP's for me, they need to get with their counselor, notify them what courses they're enrolled in at the college level, and then their counselor will be able to go back and adjust their schedule here at Clay. We do that because we don't want somebody to say, you know what, I'm going full-time CCP, and then they don't request any courses here at the high school. Then in May, they go to their counselor and say, you know what, I changed my mind. I don't want to go CCP. Can you get me into some classes? Well, some classes may be full, some may be not at a time that they can take them, things, whatever the situation may be. So that's why we say schedule as if you're going to be here full-time next year, and then we'll adjust our schedule accordingly and see if you even get into the college courses that you want to take. So great question there. And if I had to guess, how many kids below the below the 9th grade level ever took a college credit course, or how many ever right now do we have enrolled? Mrs. Burr will answer that.
I would say we've had about 4.
Again, low numbers, but I can't stress enough, make sure your child is prepared. Okay. And Mrs. Burr has about, at the most, 10 minutes remaining. And then we will move on.
You're not sharing your screen, right?
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, so now comes the time that we talk about how you apply for this if you decide you want to. So can I participate? If you are a student who is currently in grades 6 through 11, you can apply for CCP admission for next school year. A student is considered eligible if they score at or above certain testing scores. So this gets a little confusing. I feel like I say that a lot in CCP, but it does. It's a lot. So I'm going to click on this eligibility assessments. So what this says is that students are eligible for the CCP program if they receive, if you look in this column right here, the assessment threshold score, if they receive these certain scores, either on the ACT, which a lot of our juniors and seniors have taken, or they can do the AccuPlacer at the colleges. If they receive one of these scores, they're eligible. If they don't score one of those, but they're close and they fall into this column where they're conditionally eligible, they would be, if they get a 3.0 cumulative GPA, then yes, they could participate if they had a conditionally eligible score and a 3.0 GPA. Now, I will say that with COVID right now, the colleges have given a lot of flexibility to their admission procedures. So really, from what I've heard from all of the area colleges, Ohio, or Owens, UT, BG, they're saying that if they have a 3.0 cumulative GPA, or if they meet the one of the thresholds, they will allow them admission. So that's kind of where we stand right now. I think they're going to be flexible and they're going to say one or the other, 3.0 cumulative or one of these scores. So what this is saying, where it says OCS will not give a recommendation if the student fails to meet the required 3.0 GPA, we will not go out and say, you know what, the student doesn't have a 3.0 GPA, but we think that they should take a class. Here's why. We feel that they should have a 3.0 GPA. If they're going to be ready for a college course, then they should be pulling at least a 3.0 GPA here at the high school. Note that you cannot participate in CCP beyond your anticipated graduation date. So what that's saying is that you can't fail a class purposely on senior year so that you come back a 5th year senior and take a whole year of free CCP classes. So whatever year you are scheduled to graduate, you cannot do CCP past that year. Okay, so participation in CCP is contingent upon the college admitting you. So Oregon City Schools does not admit you, the college does. So what's going to happen is that the Oregon counselor is going to sit down with your student, walk through all of the application procedures. They will actually fill out an online application and the college will decide whether they are admitted or not. We will help the student gain admission by providing things like transcripts or test scores or any documents that the colleges are requiring. We will definitely help. We'll submit all of that, but we are not the ones who make that decision as to whether they're admitted or not. The college does that. Students who are awaiting acceptance, like Mr. Dursky just said, should register for Clay High School classes or their facet classes. They need to have a full Oregon City School schedule, and then we can always readjust once we get that CCP schedule. As we said, if a student withdraws from a college class, the student will be re-enrolled in the Clay High School classes, which were dropped. So basically, if they were taking, a couple of CCP classes and then a Clay High School schedule first semester for maybe 3 periods. Second semester, they decided to drop all those CCP classes. They want to do full-time Clay High School. That's fine. We'll try to put them into maybe the classes they were originally signed up for. So let's say right now they sign up for classes. Then they decide to take a CCP class in the fall. So we drop some of the classes they signed up for. That following spring, if they don't do CCP anymore, we'd re-enroll them back into what they were originally scheduled for. And again, there's a lot of flexibility on this. We'll work with them and figure out what fits their schedule. We will make reasonable efforts to accommodate their schedule and get them what they want. What I can say though is that, like I said before, there will 100% be scheduling conflicts. We are not going to be able to fit every class that they want and CCP on the same schedule. It gets impossible. So there's going to have to be some flexibility there on your end as far as what classes are most important and what you really, need to take. We're not going to revise the master schedule or have a teacher teach, a special section to your one student because it wouldn't fit in with their CCP schedule. Okay, so after hearing all of this, pros and cons, an hour and some minutes into the meeting, if you feel like, yes, this program I think is for my student, doesn't mean you need to commit right now. But if you think, yeah, I want to do the next steps, I want my child to sit down with a counselor, talk about it one-on-one, go through the application procedures, then what you need to do is get an intent to participate form into me by May 1st. It should have been attached to the email that you received with the link to this meeting. It's also going to be on the website. So as soon as I'm done with this presentation, I'm going to show you where to find all of this stuff on the website. By May 1st, it's just a 2-page paper. It basically recaps everything that we just talked about in bullet form. And then at the end, you sign it and a student signs it. Turn it back into me by May 1st. And all that is saying is that you're interested in the next step, does not commit you to CCP. If you do not meet this May 1st deadline, you will not be eligible to do CCP next school year. We're very strict about that May 1st deadline. When we get that form, I'm the contact person. I get all the forms. I put them all into a spreadsheet. I then disperse them to each of the students' individual counselors. Those counselors will call the students down and we'll talk with them about their future plans, what college they want to go to, what classes might be a good option. They'll walk them through all the application procedures. Application's pretty simple. They're just online applications, don't take very long to do. We send in some documentation and they're pretty good to go. It's not a very long application process. Again, the college or university to which you applied will admit you or not admit you, and they'll notify you of that decision. If you are admitted, you would select an appointment time with your CCP advisor to create a college schedule. And then you would bring that college schedule back to Oregon schools so that we can adjust your schedule here. So if you bring it back and you say, hey, I'm only doing one class at the college, it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll say, okay, you can't be here maybe first and second period, but you can be here third on, and we'll adjust that schedule for you. Just a quick note for my to-be seniors, we will receive copies of your CCP grades. We will put everything onto your official high school transcript. However, we cannot transfer your earned credit. So let's say you go to Owens for CCP and then you transfer to OU. We as high school counselors cannot send college transcripts to another college. All we can do is send the high school transcript. So if you want those Owens credits to transfer to OU, you would have to request a transcript from Owens. So whatever CCP institution you're at, you need to request that college transcript to be sent to whatever college you end up attending. There's a link here at the end. Bowling Green, Owens, UT, and Lourdes. The only reason that those four are on there is that they're the four local schools that do CCP. You are eligible to take CCP at any public college in the state of Ohio. Just because you're able to doesn't mean I would recommend it though. We have had students take classes at Ohio State, tried to anyway, ended up not following through with it. Cincinnati, Mount Vernon, we've had several colleges. The issue that comes in with this is that we don't typically have students there, so we don't have any relationship with those CCP advisors. So like I said, college is already a lack of communication between us and the professors. And then when we don't know those CCP advisors either, it makes it very difficult. Cincinnati, I struggled. It would literally take me weeks to receive any kind of response to voicemails, emails, anything. So yes, you can take a class anywhere, but if you take one at one of these local colleges, we have really good working relationships with these people, and we're going to get, much better communication than we would at the other colleges. These are all direct links to their CCP pages. So that'll walk you through all the application steps for each of those particular colleges. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys where to go here. So if you go to the Oregon City Schools website and you go to Family and Students, Family Resources, we have a whole section right here of College Credit Plus information. So the slideshow that we just discussed tonight is on here for you to view. The intent to participate form is on here. So Mr. Jersky emailed that to you with the link, so you can get it that way, or you can get onto the website here and access it this way. You would just have to print out this form here, this intent to participate form, sign it, have students sign it, get it back to me by May 1st. Now, that deadline is a state set deadline. I will tell you that if your student is interested in taking a summer CCP class, most of those colleges require all application materials to be in by about April 15th. So I wouldn't recommend waiting until May 1st because you may miss that summer class if you're interested in that. So just keep that in mind. There's also going to be a recording of this meeting that's going to be coming soon. Once we're done tonight, we're going to get that beginning edited out where we're having technical difficulties, and we'll get this posted up here. So you'll be able to go back, review everything we talked about, see the slideshow, print out the intent to participate form, and then just get that back to me by May 1st. Okay. I think that's all for me. Do you want to look at any final questions, Mr. Jersky?
Sure.
Okay.
And let me stop sharing. And I guess the intent to participate is just, it is not binding. Let me just put it that way. But it is all important that must be turned in before that deadline of May 1st. So that is the key date. If you change your mind and say, you know what, I don't want it, fine. You do not have to take it. But just remember, it has to be signed. That intent to participate has to be signed. Okay, so I'm just glancing at the questions. And again, if you are attending this meeting and your child is at Facet or will be at Facet, and you do not want to go through this program after hearing some things, fine, no problem. You will still have to attend a meeting. If you decide in the future that this is for you, still attend the meeting to get any updates or any clarifications or any changes in the law. And then after that, you will be able to declare your intent to participate the following year or the next year, whatever it may be. Okay, somebody asked about the deadline for CCP in the summer, and Mrs. Burgess covered that, so get it in. I would get it in as soon as possible. Yes, summer CCP classes can be taken. And I'm sorry, there's a few that says the website's not showing on screen. So hopefully that did come through. Maybe we will try that again. Could somebody like message me right now and let me know if the website ever popped up, or not message, but type something in the Q&A and let me know if the website did pop up or not. If it didn't, we will try and show that again and share my screen again and see. But basically, we'll put that in an email. And it did not. Okay, it came through loud and clear. Thank you for those replies. It came through loud and clear. Let's try it one more time, and then that'll be it for us. Again, digest what Mrs. Burr told you today, and then contact her starting tomorrow, or excuse me, starting next week with any questions, comments, clarifications on the CCP process. So Mrs. Burr, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Let you pull up.
Gonna pull up Oregon School's webpage and then.
Yep, we'll see what I can do here. Okay, hopefully I did it correct. I hope. And now we got multiple screens going on here. All right, so hopefully you're seeing the website, and Mrs. Burr will go through it one more time.
Yep, so when you get to the Oregon City Schools site, you just go to Families and Students, and then you go to Family Resources. And then over on the right here, you will see the College Credit Plus information. So the slideshow, the intent to participate, and then a recording of this meeting, which is coming soon, and hopefully within a couple of days, we will have a copy of this recording as well. So again, if you have any questions, just contact me. My phone number, email, and everything is on the website, but I will give that to you if you want to write it down. My number is 419-697-3434, and I'm extension 2. Feel free to give me a call. You can also email me. My email is bburr, so BBIRR @OregonCS.org. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I hope that you're not asleep after this hour-and-a-half meeting. I know it's long, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of information to cover. So hopefully we answered your questions, and I hope you guys all have a good night. Thank you.